Hi guys, it's Tracy in Australia and I've popped in to share a journal that I recently finished. It is what I would call like a bit of a concept journal, and the idea was that this was a family heirloom. It belonged to a Victorian gentleman who did a tour of the European continent. And this was a record of his travels. And so I repurposed a hardback, the cover of a hardback novel for this. I did, however, deconstruct it and do another spine. It had to be wider. This is 3 inches wide. And I also wanted it to look like it had been falling apart and then patched up. So I've done lots of different layers. There's old paper, parchment paper or baking paper, linen and muslin. And then on the front, there are actually two different hardback novel covers. And there's some tapestry fabric, and I've actually made that into a pocket so you can slide some tags in there. And then I did lots of layering on the front as well. And the final piece is actually from a very old music folio. I loved the graphics, I loved the colors, but it was really falling apart. And so the only way to use it was to actually glue it down to other things, which I've done. There's some corrugated paper there as well. So just that idea of lots and lots of things just glued on and layered together. There's a book plate and it says private in French. The seam binding is this wine or colour that echoes this. So, okay, let's pop in and have a look. So it's 2 signatures, and while they contain about 10-11 folded pages, which doesn't seem a lot, once you've got the ephemera in, it really is. And I have included quite a lot of ephemera. There is a little bit of writing space, but it's essentially meant to represent a journal that's already been used. So this is the gentleman that's gone on the journey. And you can see here lots of tattered edges, lots of layering, the word remembered stamped on there. There's a bulb pen with a little fob watch. I've done a little, made a little collage down there. There's a metal button and some taffeta sort of fabric. There's that gorgeous facing paper, same color as the seam binding, and echoes that from the front. So I did actually use a digital paper set called Gentleman and Scholars from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. And I've used lots and lots of other things. I'm not really going to go into what they are or even talk about all the ephemera. If there's something you're really interested in, you can ask me about it. I may or may not be able to answer that because there's just so much in here. Really curious little things like detachable mustache guard, dye for whiskers, really cute Louis Vuitton luggage advertisement. And I did use several sets of letters. I really love these letters that are old and that you can print out and then fold up. And I've used several sets from various digital creators on Etsy. So this one over here is a page that's folded down and a piece that's behind it, and that actually makes a little pocket for my quill, which has a Tim Holtz nib on the end of it, and I just really like that. And on the back here there's an old photo and a little piece of ephemera, which is actually an exposition ticket from France in 1900. So that's a little copy of that. The world was really changing in the late 1800s, 1900s, and a lot of that is reflected in this journal. So a map of Paris, a faux postcard of Calais, which is where a lot of English people ended up if they caught a boat to France. Sam Poole stamps. I used quite a few pages from an old geography book that I had. I like that it talks about how the world was created, like the geological things that went on. These are gorgeous papers from an old stamp album. You know that the paper that often went over photos and things like that to protect them, and it's got spider webs and spiders on it. It's really lovely. So this is a commercial, this is a Tim Holtz piece, I think, with these exercises, people doing exercise on the back. Part of a cover for a cigar wrapper, couple of receipts, menu printed onto vellum, a postcard created out of an old photo of a Parisian building. So I just wanted to gather together a lot of things that I thought someone who was traveling might have collected. And I love these envelopes, the color that they are. I've put a wax seal on there, and I tried to make little stories, and this is just a little scrap of paper, and in there I've put 2 photos, one of a very young Sarah Bernhardt, and it's all scrunched up, and one of an older Sarah Bernhardt, and some French opera glasses. Sarah Bernhardt was a famous French actress at the turn of the century, so I thought there might have been a little romantic story attached to that. So I made a coin envelope and put some ephemera in there, and that's held by a really rusty pin. There's a little collage up there. Some beautiful fabric that echoes the color of the seam binding and the inside of the book. Large tag with a little pocket, and then I've put this piece of fabric onto a bon marché swatch, and this is actually an authentic French postcard that I was lucky enough to have and included in there. Why does that? Seriously, don't, there's 2 pockets here and it just is a little bit difficult to get that in. I'm always, have you noticed that when people do these videos, everybody has the same problem? We all get thumbs. Large pocket. I made a little booklet, and this is an advertisement for the Orient Express. There's a dinner ticket, and in the back I've included this piece from a book that has photos of trains. There's a key on a bulb pin there, and more travel ephemera. This is for the Orient Express airships, and this tells you that the Orient Express goes from London to Paris to Constantinople. And so I imagined that my person went on this journey. I added these strips that were embossed onto card, and then I've coloured them with metal waxes, and I thought they added a nice masculine touch to the journal. So what I did was I picked out a few locations, like this is Munich, and found ephemera that related to that and included that because I imagined the person going from place to place. So there's some German tickets that I've stamped there. This one has ephemera from Austria and Amsterdam. And then this says Budapest and Leipzig. There's a German book page and a postcard of the Rhine. Just some other curious bits of ephemera in there. A little pocket watch. So that's the end of the first signature. And my second one starts off with some air balloons, some tickets, because the Grand Exposition in Paris was around this time, and they used air balloons. And there was just a lot of, you know, things like motor cars and bicycles. So this is the same as what's on the cover. And just here it says the 10th of the 7th, 1911. So that fits into the era really well. This is actually an Italian opera singer. Her name was Lena Cavalier. And I thought, you know, this might have been a little romantic interest as well. So another piece of that fabric. An advertisement showing gentlemen's evening wear. Photo of an early car. And this one has cycling ephemera in it. And this was one of the first cycle races that happened. And it was, I think, Paris to Brest. And if I'm not mistaken, they still do that race. And a couple of years later, they did the first Tour de France. So here I included photos of Constantinople. And this is the famous Sophia. Another letter. So this says Constantinople 1895. And there's just a piece of the kit that I used. And on this bulb pin, I just put a whole heap of metal buttons that I had in my stash. An ad for an Italian opera. And I've just bent that over and made a pocket. This is an image from the Gentleman and Scholars, and I've just used a die cut that I've used wax, metal wax on to give the effect of a frame. A couple of little pieces there. This is actually an authentic postcard from Rome, and this one's a faux one that I made. Another cigar wrap. And here just some other little bits and pieces. These ones are Italian, and I just included a little bit of fabric and an ad for some gentlemen's vests. And down here there's a bulb pin with penny farthing. While I was trolling Pinterest, I found this gorgeous guy, and he was obviously posing as a boxer, so I just made up a little collection of things related to that sort of, what do they say, pugilism? And of course, this was the era of the motor car, and I found this ad for a motor car race from Paris to Bordeaux. One of the entrants made me laugh because I think he had a chauffeur. And I've ripped this page, so stuck a bit of sticky tape on that. I've got to colour that. And in this little envelope, I put a photo of Bertha Benz. Her husband, Carl Benz, was obviously the creator of Benz automobiles, and her dowry provided the money. And she famously took one of the cars and her sons out without her husband knowing and did a big trip. So I made this bookmark to go in there. And then I found lots of cool ephemera about the Alps. I love this old photo. And then gentlemen had outfits apparently for every occasion. This one's for shooting, outdoor activities. And I found this interesting photo That's the Matterhorn in the background, and it's obviously summer, but there's a lady down here and a gentleman up there. And then I found this book that was on a library site about early mountaineering, and so I printed out a couple of pages from that. I think this is a map of Europe. I've used this in several different journals. I love it. I always print it onto vellum. There's a double pocket there. And this is my final pocket. And so I wanted to create like a little sense of continuation. And so I found this map of the world, and then I found this little photo of this woman standing in a wilderness area, and a photo of Victorians traveling in Egypt, and there's a lady and some gentlemen, and I wanted to hint that perhaps our gentleman continued his life of travel and adventure with a lady who had similar interests. So there we have it, my Victorian travel journal, the story of a gentleman's visit to Europe. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a little bit long, but hopefully you've enjoyed watching.